Hello, Cubers. Welcome to the show today. We're excited to be with you. Last week, we had an honor of having Scott Trench on the show with us. And today, I am super excited to introduce you to Rob Labreche. And he is the founder and builder of a very successful financial literacy platform, iGrad, and has become an investor and recently joined the board with Qube Money. And we are so excited to have his wealth of knowledge with us, helping guide this platform to bless millions of people's lives. And so, anyways, uh, Rob, if you don't mind just starting, for those who don't know you, like what brought you to the financial literacy, financial health space, and what inspired you to start iGrad?
Well, I first of all, really excited to be here. Really excited to be part of the team. Like anyone else's life, it's a long journey, and a lot of things happen during your life to kind of get you to where you are today. Rewind to back in my college days, and had two parents that were teachers. Had a great upbringing. Got out of college and didn't know a thing about managing my finances. I was literally the poster child for making terrible decisions, and I think that was not because my parents did a bad job, but I didn't really have the tools that were necessary to help me make those good decisions. And that's one reason I'm really excited about Qube and what it does. Fast forwarded from from there, I was in the student loan industry, which is a necessary evil, of course, to pay for colleges nowadays. Was part of a startup company. We started with 3 employees, and we grew it to almost 1,000 in a very short period of time. And that's because we we served the customer well. We really focused on things like scholarships and grants to help the person out before they took out a student loan. And so, of course, that was a consumer-centric sort of model that people loved and migrated towards. And I learned a lot from that, especially from the growth of that company and the way that we serviced our client. And then, I realized over all that time that the one thing that was missing, not only from your college student, but from your parent looking to pay for college and just the general adult in America today, is they don't have the tools and resources needed in order to make those decisions I talked about before. So I kind of went stealth for a little while and built a business plan for iGrad, which is now on hundreds of college campuses across the country. We pivoted and also sell our product to businesses. It's an ancillary product to Qube. It doesn't do the amazing things Qube does, but we also service some of the biggest corporations in America and help their employees out. So it was overall that period of time that financial wellness has meant something to me. And I think everyone watching this today, same thing. You're involved in some way, shape, or form, whether you use the product or you're an investor or both. You realize how important this is to our lives. And sometimes people set it aside and get scared of it. And
Yeah.
I realized that companies like ours can make a difference in people's lives. And so I used to always tell my employees, it's not like building a widget. We're changing people's lives here. And that's what's really important. That's what drew me to Qube.
That's amazing. Rob, thank you for that quick background. You might name a couple of the companies that iGrad serves. I mean, you guys have now educated over 1 million people as an organization, which is amazing, right? So
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, so who are some of the companies you guys serve?
It is amazing, and that's why I look at Qube and I see the potential there. I mean, we service companies like Coca-Cola worldwide. We have an international product as well. Humana, um, Dell, a lot of companies you've heard of, a lot of companies you haven't heard of. Most of our country works for small business out there too. So we serve thousands of companies throughout the world, really, and try to serve people in a way that's personal to them. And again, moving into Qube Money, when I retired from iGrad, I realized, hey, I still love this industry. I still love what it's all about. And even though I'm involved with that company to a certain extent, when you and I met, Shane, I realized that you had a product that really was, I hate to use the term groundbreaking, but I think you can get there with this product because, it takes the old budgeting with the envelope method, which is a simple method, and it brings it up to modern day times where it actually is ease of use, it's real time, and it's life changing. So you have to call a product like that groundbreaking if it does what I know it does.
Yeah, it's interesting, Rob. I look back at how we met each other. I was at FinCon and I meet this really energetic young man, Hassan, and he's like, it was actually in the bathroom. We just struck up a conversation, and I
Why
think
wouldn't you be talking in the
yeah,
bathroom?
that's right. Anyways, and he was so like excited about financial health and so forth. And as we talked about what Qube Money was, he was like, that is amazing. And I remember immediately him saying, you need to talk to our founder, Rob. And that connection has turned into a really awesome relationship where we speak often. And I'm really grateful for that relationship. As you guys have served millions of people, what do you see as like, I guess the character traits in people or the habits in people that are successful with money and those who aren't? What makes the difference?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I mean, I'll answer it the best I can, but I think everyone knows like the basic tenets of doing the right thing, of what to do. They just don't have the tools to use to do that. So, banks, for example, banks provide all sorts of services for clients, but they don't really usually hit the bullseye with regard to allowing someone to make a decision in real time when they're purchasing something. That's something that Qube Money does. And so I would say, A, yes, you have to have a plan, but B, if you have a plan, you have to have the tools. Now you can do it simply, of course, but in today's world, modern world, where you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, having something in real time that can work for you is tremendously successful. So I think it's simple: have a plan and have the tools to execute that plan.
And why is Qube Money the right tool in your opinion, Rob?
Yeah, I mentioned it before. There's so many things out there with that accomplish certain parts of budgeting, and there's so much opportunities. I think investors know with regard to budgeting out there, billions of dollars of opportunity for a company that grabs it. But it's really the spending space that is the huge market out there that allows, when people spend, they have a real-time decision to make. There's no one out there that does what Qube does. That's what excited me, because over the years at iGrad, and we founded the company in 2009, so it's been 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you this: virtually every company that's a financial literacy / wellness company, whether they have an app or a widget or some other sort of solution, they've contacted iGrad because of our content to see if there can be a partnership. Talk to them all. And I'm not going to say any of them are bad, but when I saw Qube, I immediately saw that it was different. Because it met people where their needs are, and met people right at the spending decision, which is not how pretty much everything works. So this is just much more forward thinking company in my view. And of course, other people I think have seen Shane on calls before. Shane is passionate about what he does. He loves what he does, like I do. It meant something to me. And so when I met Shane and started talking to Shane, I'm like, this guy gets it. He understands that he can move mountains with a great product and make differences in people's lives. Sure, everyone wants to make money, but at the end of the day, you also want to feel good about what you're doing. And Qube Money, out of every single company I've looked at in the financial wellness space, Qube Money actually did something that was most meaningful to users, at their decision-making time.
I appreciate that a lot, Rob. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. It is true. Like when you think about, if you're going to buy something or you're going to pay a bill or you're checking on something, where do you go? You go to your bank. And
Yes.
the struggle with today's banking system is all your money is going in and out automatically, really without having a good grasp of what's going on, right? And so simply creating this ability to sort your money based on those values and goals and watch your money in real time do exactly what you want it to do is really rewarding. And it
Yeah.
creates this peace and this ability for people to create the lifestyle they want, because everyone wants their money to do something, and Qube just helps them accomplish that, which that's amazing. So like as you look at so you're an investor
Yeah.
and I really appreciate that. And especially when I consider the wealth of knowledge, Rob, that you have in this space, the wealth of knowledge that you have in the behavior that people like, that between money and people. So why did you invest in Qube? I mean, you shared some of that already, but like, what was that process you went through to say, this is a company I want to get behind? And actually, and now, I mean, we could take it one step further and say, why did you choose to join the board?
Yeah,
Um,
they're great questions, and I appreciate the question. I mean, I don't take any investments lightly. I want to feel like I understand the company, I'm close to it. Just whether it's a public company or a private company, if I put dollars into that company, number one, I want to feel good about the mission, of course, but I also want to make some money. So I looked at Qube and thought of it as the old days of iGrad, to be honest with you. I saw the potential. I saw the people at the company. So, meeting you, of course, and some other folks involved with the company, I was impressed with your ability. And so I think if you have the ability and you have the product, the world's your oyster, as they say. I just really loved the energy as part of it. I loved where you were going. But as I've talked to you on the phone about, I also think I can help. I think I joined the board because I have contacts that I think can help. I see the opportunity with banks and other organizations that need the help. They want the help, but they don't really know how to arrive at the final decision. So, getting a big deal at a bank, there's a lot of meandering to get there. But I think if you have the right people that knows some people within the organization, you can kind of wiggle your way in there where they can have that eureka moment and say, yeah, this is a groundbreaking product. We need to have this as part of our banking product. Because you look at banks, you can log online to your bank right now. Do they have some tools? Yeah, they have some tools, but nothing that's anything close to what Qube Money has. So I joined for a myriad of reasons. I felt good about the leadership, meaning you and the rest of the team. I felt great about the product. I kind of saw that knowing the industry, I know that the opportunity is there. So to me, it's about risk and reward. And I know there's a risk with any investment. There's certainly a risk with Qube, but I feel like the reward in many different ways can be huge. And I'm happy to be part of the board to help as well.
that's awesome. And like, when you look at the market sectors that are really huge opportunities for Qube Money, where do you see those opportunities as far as like sectors?
Yeah, I look at it, I think, differently than you do, which is a good thing. We look at
Yeah.
different opportunities in different ways. So I mentioned the banks before. I think financial organizations would be very, very hungry to have this product as part of their life cycle of working with their member or bank. If someone's banking with
Customer.
them, et
Yeah. Yeah.
cetera. Yeah, their customer. I think that's one avenue. I think corporations as well. They're always looking for ways to find, quite frankly, a low cost benefit with a high perceived value for the employee. And I think that's something that Qube can offer as well. The company can look like the good guy to their employees, saying, "Hey, we're concerned about your financial wellness, and we want to help you and give you some tools that are around." I think that's kind of some low hanging fruit that's out there. Not always easy to get into a 50, 100,000 person company, but with Qube's model, you have a lot of different ways that you can provide the product and a lot of different price points and things like that. And because it's software as a service, just like iGrad was, you have a lot of ability to kind of maneuver the way you need to in order to get the business. And the business is changing lives, so it's a win-win for everybody. So I look at financial organizations, I look at companies out there that are just your small, mid-sized, large companies. Go after the big ones first, of course. But I think that there's so much opportunity in different ways. I know, Shane, you've gone after a lot of organizations out there, and I think that's a good way as well. But as I used to always tell my employees, you kind of need to get your tentacles out there in 5 or 6, 7, 8 different places. You obviously want to be focused enough, but you have to be open to different industries or different areas that you haven't thought about before.
Yeah. When you guys did that with iGrad, like, what was your messaging to, like, that you feel like resonates with Qube, that got you into Dell? that got you
Yeah.
into Humana, and these larger companies. And like, what do you see as a maybe a shorter track to make that same um like penetration?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, every year, whether it's a broker for these big organizations or it's the organization itself. So I understand the industries very well about how they make their buying decisions. I think that's an important component, and that's
Mhm.
that's why I want to help in some ways on the board around that. But you take a Dell or a Coca-Cola or a company like that. They're constantly looking for ways to retain their employees. They're constantly looking for ways to make sure that their 401k or their different retirement plans are being fully utilized. Because believe it or not, for those that don't know, there's a lot of benefits for corporations if the people are utilizing their 401k, for example. So if you can measure that, if you can measure a way for that person to understand these options better and to budget their money better, to be able to do some of those sorts of things, that's a win for them. So they also, of course, look at the satisfaction level of their employees. They measure these things. What do you think about our benefits? And for just a handful of pennies to dollars, you can provide a product like Qube to employees, and it's a huge win-win. So I look at it as, let's hit some of these Fortune 500 companies that we know have a need. Yes, everyone and their brother is hitting them up as well, but we have a better product. So we're going to get into some of those companies.
That's awesome. I'm excited about that, Rob. Let's do that.
Let's
Let's
do that.
do
Yeah,
that.
no, let's do that. I mean, yeah, the potential is unbelievable, and that's why I said. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't stress enough that I would say 200 companies over the last 8, 9, 10 years, and probably more, are knocking on our door saying, "Hey, we like what you're doing, iGrad, because we're a company that's got phenomenal content, but we have some other piece of the puzzle." So I've looked at them all, and honestly, if I were to be truthful to myself, most of them I got off the call or the whatever the meeting format was and said, I don't think that company's going to make it. I'm pretty tough on those companies because I know the industry very well. And when I looked at Qube, it's like, okay, this company's got the leadership, like I said, it's got the product. We need to push out different ways to sell the product, but I just felt really good about it. And the first time I talked to you, like, okay, this is different. This is different than the noise I've heard from so many different companies.
Well, that's amazing, Rob. This has been a really fun conversation, and um, I don't know if the audience here realizes like what you've accomplished in the personal finance space and like who you are, and it really is like, I tell you, we are so excited about having you on the board because of a lot of the things that you shared. And already, like just in a short time being on the board, the perspective and the connections that you bring to Qube is super, super exciting to me. And so anyways, I'm really grateful for you. And what I want to do now is we've been on the call for 18 minutes. Let's take a couple of minutes. I'm gonna let the comments come through and see if there's anyone that has a question. Feel free um, to ask those questions. So cool. So Terry said, I would love to have a printable brochure that I can hand to family and friends that shows them what Qube does. Actually, we have that, Terry. In fact, we just created a beautiful brochure. You guys remember I did an interview with our brand new CMO, Maral, and she has done some incredible things. So we have that. One thing I want to also, just in light of the employee benefit space, um all many of you are employees. You work for companies that are always striving to make the lives of their employees better. And to be frank, financial stress is the leading cause of turnover,
Mm.
because when we don't feel like we're making enough money, the grass is always greener somewhere else, and it isn't, but that's how we feel. And so as employers engage with Qube Money and help their employees build that plan and have a system for following that plan, it creates this peace and confidence in where they are right now, and thus they stay and they create long-term relationships with their companies oftentimes. And so anyways, if your company, if you have a relationship with the HR director or with the leaders of the company, we would love to be connected in with that, and so that we have a team of sales reps ready to unleash Qube Money
Yeah,
on
no,
your organization.
it's so important. That was a big part of our business strategy as well. Is once people loved the product, they told other people about the product or told their company about the product. And same thing with Qube. I reiterate that. I mean, if you're watching and you work for a company, small, medium, large, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Tell your employer, hey, this is something we can provide for all employees, and it's very cost effective. I mean, people are going to love it.
Yeah, I mean, literally for $12 a month, and they're spending how much money a month on the 401k match and the insurance and yet 60% of people take an early draw from their 401k or IRA because their cash flow today is struggling, and we solve that. And it's just, it really is such a beautiful addition to what they're already doing. So it's exciting. Okay, so when will there be new? How long will the new bank and the old bank work at the same time to allow some overlap for the transition? So I know that there's tons of questions about this bank transition and all of that process. And actually right now we are like negotiating and putting that together so that there is a couple of months for that bank transition to give our users ample time to make that happen. And I just want everyone to know that, we're in a really unique time in the fintech space. And let me share this with you, even though this is completely off topic. And Rob, you might want to add some on to this. But with the fall of FTX at the end of 2022, there was a massive change in the regulatory environment, the compliance oversight from the top down. And that regulatory pressure created a lot of requirements on the banks to lift their regulatory oversight. And as a result of that, it's created a rippling effect with consent orders that banks have been put under, as well as banks deciding, what, maybe the fintech space isn't the right space for us. This isn't our expertise. And so they've chosen to exit. Yet we all know that fintech is the future. Like digital banking and digital softwares are where the world is going. And so there's a lot of banks that are now, after this change, are coming into this space, and it's taking them, one, they have to integrate with a processor that's fintech friendly, and that takes about a year, even up to a year and a half to do. Plus, they have to lift their regulatory oversight compliance team and processes so that it makes it possible to do that. So through this process, you're like, why is this taking you so long? And I'm like saying, I understand it taking so long, and there's no one more frustrated than us and our team. But what's amazing, you guys, is to have a team that's dedicated, laser focused on being able to make this transition when most companies are not able to do it. And so anyways, we are working through that, and there's been a whole new crop of banks that have entered in or that are just becoming available, and they're getting up to speed. But because they're getting up to speed, and this is their first integration, for example, it's taking longer than we expected. And there's a lot of fintechs like us that have been waiting and waiting until these banks are ready. And so there's a lot of pressure with BINs, with Visa, for example. And there is a pipeline that you have to get through to get that BIN live. So just know that there is going to be more time required to make the bank transition. But we are so excited to make this transition, and the technology that's going to become available with instant money movement and remote check deposit and tap to pay cards and all these things that you want, Plaid integration, all these things, they're coming. And we are building a product that will be at the forefront of a banking experience, like in every way, not just in intentional spending, but money movement and the ease of the app and allowing you to create the life that you want. So, what Qube Money is all about is enabling you to get your money to create the lifestyle that you want. And that's no small foot. And we're laser focused and we're committed to that process. So anyways, Rob, you may have something that you want to add to that.
I mean, nothing earth shattering other than the fact that these things take time when you're dealing with banks and they have all their regulatory issues and everything else. So I think patience is really important. Getting back to, what I was trying to say about the banks themselves is they don't have a product like this themselves. I'm saying, other banks and organizations. I mean, this product penetrates so much more deeply than anything they have that it's going to be a huge opportunity. And I know that those waiting for this changeover from banks are very, very anxious. I think you mentioned before the call that this is one of the questions that's inevitably going to come up on this calls, but it's going to happen. We know these things take time, and I'm excited because again, Shane and I have been talking. I know some of the decisions they've made are not only going to provide a better experience, but they're also going to provide a better balance sheet for the company, which is, again, a win-win.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Rob. And yes, so I know that we sent out an email last week that the 28th is that we're going to provide more information. This right here is a little bit of that information. And then there will be an email that's sent out tomorrow to provide more information. Okay. So we will communicate clearly as we have more information. The thing is you're working with a lot of different organizations to bring this together. And so we don't control all that. And there are many companies that are doing the same thing. And so these other organizations are doing their best to provide timelines and so forth. So we will provide, and one day, you guys, I am documenting this whole process. It's been super challenging, to be really forthright with you. And you will hear the story and truly the sheer grit of this team to deliver this product for you, to you. And I'm so proud of the team. I'm so honored to be in business with them. And I'm grateful for Rob for joining that team. And it takes a group effort to accomplish this level of a change, this disruptive of a product. And anyways, I'll end with that. But thank you for being with us today. We appreciate you being on this journey. And Rob, thanks so much for joining us. It's been an awesome experience being with you.
Glad to be here, and I love when you say grit, because grit is what it's going to take, and you have grit, and the team has grit. It's exciting.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great day.